Very much.
And I hope all is good.
Wonderful. I can't complain.
Most definitely. It is the white shirt that I'm in love with.
Thank you.
This is your first time here?
This is my very first time, yes.
Wow. And how do you see our studio?
The studio is pretty good. I've been to several studios, as you can imagine, in the last couple of weeks, and this is one of the most impressive ones. So I'm happy to be here.
Fantastic, fantastic. It's about the GOC, but before the GOC, we have to start somewhere. And like I said, I'm highly jealous of your academic journey, if I should put it. Right from Infantipim, where you actually played basketball and did high jump.
Yes.
And then straight to University of Ghana. That's where we shall be starting from. Then we go to UK.
Okay.
Secondary school is the pride of anybody. I attended Accra Academy. So when we mentioned secondary school, you know, we have to go back home, homecoming, when we played sports and what have you. Tell us about your days at MOBA, Infantipim.
Arguably, it's probably one of the most eventful times in one's life because, you know, your formative years are very, very important and they shape you for the rest of your life. I entered school at the age of 10, so I was pretty young then.
Wow.
But I soon grew into the Kwabuche atmosphere because it was a matter of survival. And if you didn't have it, then it was going to be very, very difficult. In fact, one of the things that I make reference to is the fact that even though I was born and raised in Takoradi, I was forced to learn how to speak Ga by the time I was in Form 2 because Ga was the language of survival. If you couldn't speak Ga, you would be in trouble. So I learned...
You been speaking Ga in school?
Yes, in school.
Wonderful.
Yes, I had to be able to speak Ga to be able to belong, as it were.
Wow.
Because most of the Accra boys were hip and they were in awe of the Tadi boys because, you know, the Tadi boys supposedly were shoremen and, you know, I recall we could dance, we were hip, and they were like in vogue. So they tried to use language to bully one. But yes, I enjoyed my time there. From 1 to Upper 6, I was involved in a whole lot of things apart from, you know, my sporting life. I was involved in, you know, Volu, Gunsa, debating society and drama, you know, everything that, you know, is extracurricular in school I was involved with. But I enjoyed my time, and I think that whatever I am today is a result of what Infantipim put through me.
Maybe I'm a local and show Mr. Michael Agri is in our studio. I was talking about GOC, but in the meantime, we were discussing Infantipim Secondary School. Your sports life, Infantipim, it has to do with basketball and high jump.
Yes.
Yes, sir. How did that go?
Okay, it was pretty good. Actually, the high jump one is the more interesting one because in Form 3, Form 4, I had never jumped in my life. I had never ever. I was interested in sports. I was following sports and everything else. But there was this particular inter-houses games that was coming up, and if you don't mind my mention, the school high jump champion was a guy called Stewart, and the boys in my dormitory started taunting him that. Agri will beat you in the next intercore, and it was coming from nowhere. It was just a hype. So anyway, come intercore with all of the hype behind me and the Samambo and everything else. You know, I went through and won and became the school representative, which was quite surprising. And I needed then to live up to expectations. So I started to train and. I then started to represent the school, and interestingly enough, when I got to the 6th form, a similar fate was visited on me because a younger chap called Arizona, I can't remember his real name, I just remember his nickname, but Arizona then took over from me in similar circumstances. I was challenged, and when the time came, he won, and he became the school champion. and say the rest, as they say, is history.
It's history. You missed out.
Yes, I missed out, but I enjoyed my time there. Basketball was purely from my class and also from my dorm, but I never represented the school. Yes,
that's a good one. You know, when we are in secondary school, when we are about leaving, that's in graduating to probably university, most of the time somebody would want to take up sports to the highest level.
Yes.
Sports shape our lives when we are in secondary school. How did that shape your mentality as a person, sports?
Well, I continued high jumping in the university.
University of Ghana.
University of Ghana. I represented Legon at the West African University Championships.
That's a big one.
In Ibadan. Yes,
Nigeria.
This is way back in 1974 and 75. Yes, so I carried on. It's not as if I stopped entirely, but I carried on. But you see, a sporting person is somebody who is determined. And as I said, without the natural talent, I had the height. So, and it's not today where you have the Fosbury flop. We used to do what was called the Western roll. And that meant that you had to jump facing the bar and basically jumping over the bar, not going backwards.
Going backwards.
No. You had to go forward and jump higher than the bar.
And that was difficult.
It wasn't easy. Apart from that, we didn't have foam.
Landing foam.
We had sand.
Yeah.
Yes. So you would come, and after your jump, you would have to wipe yourself down with sand in your eyes, your face, and your feet, and everything else. But all of those things were interesting. So as I said, my high jumping days. Those who remember will know that we had a term which I will not disclose, but it was quite interesting. That is what spurred me on.
Oh, seriously?
Yes.
Yeah. And there's no sports person in secondary school who doesn't have a nickname. Certainly, somebody has a nickname like that. Arizona, this one, that one. What was your nickname?
Okay, so rather than give you my nickname, I'll tell you what the accolade was.
Okay,
the accolade was "We Believe."
We believe.
Yes, and as soon as they said "We Believe," somehow my adrenaline was up, and I would jump.
You're in a different world.
Totally different world. We went to Winneba to do a triangular. And Winneba ran out of bar space, so they had to put milk tins on top of the bar in order for me to elevate it. So it was good times. I remember that very well.
We believe. Okay. For the sake of time, I'd want us to at least delve into your life in the UK when you were studying.
Yes.
A bit of it.
Yeah.
In say 1 or 2 minutes. Then we go straight to sports.
Yeah.
Typically.
Okay, so after national service, I worked for Standard Chartered Bank. So I was in banking, and banking was actually my first love and my forte. So I decided that in order to enhance my banking career, I would go and do further studies. So I first attained a diploma in development finance at Birmingham University, and then I did the master's in development finance. Thereafter. And in those days, in the 80s, Ghana was not that exciting. So I decided to carry on and practice what I had learned. So I joined Liberty Life and worked there for quite a number of years. And then a company called Hansard took over. So I carried on. So I worked there for well over 12 years before I returned to Ghana.
Good one. If you just joined, you are live on Radio Gold 90.5 FM. We are in a tete-a-tete with Mr. Michael Agri. I'll tell you his portfolio when it comes to sports very shortly, but he's a finance person. He has some economic background as well. He studied in the UK. Very simple. Fantipim, University of Ghana, straight to the UK. Did national service and fed it. When it comes to sports, there's on his CV, he has club and board memberships. Achimota Golf Club, handicap member 1998 to 2003. Achimota Golf Club, competition secretary 2003 to 2005. Then Achimota Golf Club, vice captain. Then Achimota Golf Club, captain as well. Ghana Golf Association, vice president. Ghana Golf Association, president 2015 to 2021. Then Region 2 and 3, Africa Golf Confederation, regional chairman 2020-2021. Team Ghana Summer Olympics Tokyo Chef de Mission 2021. Ghana Olympic Committee Board Member 2017 till present. Then Africa Golf Confederation Secretary General 2022 till present. He's naturally a golf person. He's been through the mill, right from Region 2, 3 Africa Golf up until being a president. Chairman, tell us about golf.
Okay, the golf journey is an interesting one. I actually started my sporting life playing tennis.
Tennis.
Yes, after from the UK when the legs started to go, I started to play tennis because I could no longer do high jump. So I was playing tennis, and I played tennis actively until I returned. And I had a very good partner that I played with until he decided to go to golf. And I was quite disappointed because I said to myself, well, golf is an old man's game. Let's wait till we retire. What are you going to do in golf? And somehow he had been sold on the idea of playing golf. So, as it were, he left me. And, in tennis, if you don't have a partner, it's very, very difficult.
Very difficult.
So I was wandering around the tennis courts of GBC Clubhouse and Standard Chartered Clubhouse and not quite enjoying because I was having to play with random people, if you like. So I was invited to the golf club on one fine afternoon after a tournament. And when I got there, I was pleasantly surprised because apart from the fact that I saw a lot of old faces, I also saw the atmosphere quite interesting. They were doing all the things that we do at tennis, drinking beer, eating kebabs and, music and all of that. And I thought, wow, if this is what happens here, then why not? So I turned to golf, and let's just say that the rest is history. I never ever went back to the tennis court, and as we speak, I do not know where my last racket is. Yes.
Now, leadership in golf, like I said, you've risen through the ranks from down up. Tell us about it. Leadership in golf, presidency, vice presidency, captainship, and all of that.
Yeah. So to become captain of a golf club, you need first of all to have served your apprenticeship and to catch the eye of the seniors of the club. So in our time, and this is again a lot of things happen quite accidentally. The competition secretary at the time, Mr. Miguel Maibero, called me up one day and said, "Look, Mike, I can't do this competition because I have an engagement elsewhere. Can you stand in for me?" And without hesitation, I said, "Why not?" So I went upstage, took on the role, and I must say, to the admiration of the club members. So when Miguel had the report, he came back and he said, "You know what? Next election, you are going as competition secretary because it looks like you've fitted into the shoes much better than I thought. So why don't you carry on?" So we picked it up and took it on from there. And then from there, I became handicap member. And as I said, we started moving on and so on. And then we became vice captain. And as I said, the elders, the Nyahautama Close, the Maikezans and the Butters and so on, they will spot you from afar and decide whether or not this guy is captain material or not. So I was approached and told that, look, I think that you should become the next captain of the club. And that's how basically we ascended to that position.
Wow.
So in 2009 and 2010, we served as captain of the club. And as a democratically inclined person, after my 2 terms, I stepped down. And then I moved up to the governorship of golf in the country through the Ghana Golf Association by becoming the vice president and then later on president.
But the names you mentioned, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, big names. Does it go to state the fact that golf is reserved for the high class, like normalists, the bourgeoisies, the big men?
Not at all, not at all. The name dropping is actually something that I would say is the creation of the media. You see, when media reportage is describing an event, they will not mention Kweku Boateng or Kojo Mensah, they will mention the big names.
Absolutely.
So they will mention Osajifo, they will mention Otumfuo, they will mention Sam, and so on and so forth. So the impression is created, therefore, that it is the big shots that play.
Okay.
But you'll find that when it comes to the leaderboard, the people who are actually winning, none of these names show up. These people are recreational golfers.
Okay.
So yes, there are some big shots in golf, but they are a very small, minute percentage of the total number. Over 3,000 golfers that exist in this country, not more than 2 of them can be said to be big shots or CEOs or whatever.
Wow.
That I can tell you. So it is a misconception that has been created. But I have to say also that it's not just in Ghana. All over the world, that misconception is there that, it's for the big boys and so on and so forth. Yes, there are big boys. And yes, some golfing equipment is expensive and everything else. But monkeys, as they say, play by sizes. So you need to know how you are situated, and you buy your stuff accordingly.
Definitely. Mr. Michael Agri is in the studio with us. Now to the big question. Ghana Olympic Committee, you've gathered enough experience, leadership, having to place the sport. Now you want to ascend to the throne. Why?
It's very, very simple. Ghana sports has been on the downhill trajectory for quite a while now. I grew up in an era where the mention of Ghana sent shivers down the spine of other countries, and then suddenly we are in a situation in which you mention whether it is Black Stars or athletics or whatever, and people say, they are have-beens and that they are no longer a force to reckon with. I want us to go back to that era where the Alice Anums and the Rose Harts and the Micah Hayes and the Ikotes and the Bazookas and so on are mentioned, and people start shaking because they know that these are forces to reckon with, and because we possess raw talent. We possess raw talent in football, in boxing, in athletics, and even in weightlifting and so on and so forth. There's absolutely no reason why we should be in the doldrums. So my thinking is that we need to go back to our winning ways. And to do that, we need to go back to basics. You see, we have allowed a whole lot of things to submerge the real development that we need in sports. So other interests have taken over, and that cannot be. The athlete is at the center of what we want to do. So we need to put the athletes first, make sure that their welfare is looked after, and they will take them through to winning ways, all the way to the pinnacle. That is the main reason why I want to come to the fore. But I'm saying that the development or the winning ways have been lost because the front of sports leadership is fragmented.
Fragmented.
Sports leadership in this country is on a collision course. We want to develop sports, and there are people who have interests other than development of sports, and therefore they distract people from achieving the goals and objectives that have been set for us. So we want to bring people together. We want to make sure that our front is united, and once it is done, that will trickle down to the morale of the athletes. And because athletes know and see that, because as chef de mission, for instance, if I come to advise you, a boxer, that look, you're going into the ring tomorrow, not just for yourself, but for Ghana and everything else, and then you get a counter
counter reaction, counter instruction.
Kaya bohe, So that cannot be right. We need to have a united approach to making sure that the boys and girls, I should say, go out there to win and not to just take part. So it's very, very important that we come together as leaders and push that agenda very, very strongly.
I'm taken aback by the word fragmentation. Mr. Agri, how did you see that there were or there are fragmentations or fragments in our sports front in terms of leadership?
Okay, it's been there for a while. Actually, as we speak, this is an improved version.
Okay.
Okay, because before our time, I recall that elections for GOC were held in the middle of the night.
I was there in 2011 or so.
So as I said, this is an improved version, but we could do much better than that. There are still factions which should not be the case. But this is not politics. We're talking sports. This is not NDC, NPP. We're talking sports. Sports people, sports brings unity. So why shouldn't the leadership be united? Sports brings development. It brings enjoyment. It develops morale. It makes people want to work. So if we go back to winning ways and we start to have fun being Ghanaian, then I believe that the natural consequence will be development and economic growth. And that is what we all clamor for.
Fantastic. Mr. Agri, you are a finance person. You know, when it comes to sports and government, when the budget is read, sports gets, in fact, a very small aspect of the budget. You being a finance person, if you happen to win the nod to become the GOC president, how are you going to help in terms of funds? There are numerous sports disciplines under your umbrella.
Yes. Well, you see, government is and cannot be the only source of funding for sports. And it's very important that we realize that government has many, many asks. And the budget has to be spread to so many different things. Perhaps even not, I can't say more important, because recreation is important, but so is health, so is agriculture, education, roads, and all of that. So everybody has a stake in it. But it's about having a combination of resources. The IOC supports the National Olympic Committee.
Okay.
So through the National Olympic Committee. So that is one major source of funding. Corporate Ghana is another. Now, Corporate Ghana has dwindled in its participation purely and simply because of the lack of results and the lack of transparency and reportage that we send back to them. You see, if you recall, the days of the Black Stars and GMPC, the Goldfields and the Black Stars and so on. Those were the times when you heard of the Black Stars. Because they had support, right? Now, if you go out and you receive support from a certain bank or an insurance company or a public institution, and you don't go back to report results and you are not transparent with how you have utilized the funding, then they are not likely to repeat the funding. And that is the kind of thing that we need to do. That is why in my vision statement, I say that we will govern with transparency and integrity. We need to make sure that when you go to Corporate Ghana, you let them know first the story. You need to sell the story. That, look, we need to qualify boxers for the next Commonwealth. In order to do so, we need to go out and train. We need to go there and take part in certain tournaments in order to, if you like, upgrade our ranking and so on and so forth in the African continent. Now, having said that, you then say that I need, or rather we need X or Y amount of money to go and accomplish this. When you return, you don't stick a finger up them and tell them, nothing because perhaps you didn't qualify or nothing happened. You need to come back and tell the truth that for this and that reason, we were not able to qualify, or if we did, instead of the targeted 5 people, we only managed to qualify 1 person. That CEO or that CFO sitting in that company will say that, you know what, this is a person who is true to his word. He has come back to report that the monies that we gave to them were used prudently to buy tickets, to pay for hotels, and to pay for food and accommodation and so on and so forth. So, if you then go back, it is likely that they will reconsider your request. But if you come back and quiet and then you move on to the next person, all that they need to do is to say that, oh, by the way, what happened? Didn't you sponsor the GOC last year? He says, oh, don't mind those people. When they came, they didn't mind us. They didn't tell us anything. That's not going to happen. We're going to make sure that we report back. And once we do that, as a finance and a salesperson, I know that the sponsor takes pride in being mentioned and being acknowledged when they have done some good for your organization. So we will need to go back to them at all times and make sure that the accolade is given to them. And by so doing, we'll be able to get repeat sponsorship.
Wow, this is beautiful. Mr. Agri, there's one thing that sort of, in quotes, kills the Ghana Olympic Committee, and that is when there are major tournaments. P reporters want to attend the games. This is in the area of media. They want to attend the game. You see a number of people applying for accreditation and what have you. The last time we had issue of this Australia visa scandal and what have you. How are you going to deal with the media and ensure that, again, you mentioned transparency, proper media men go to cover games?
Yes. Okay, so that's a very simple one. You see, it's about planning. You need to plan. Now, I certainly cannot go and stand in front of an embassy or indeed a border and not account for the individual that is accompanying me.
Absolutely.
I need to be able to account for every single person. This person is a psychoanalyst. This person is a video analyst. This person is a technician. This person is a physiotherapist. This person is a medical person, and so on and so forth. It's very important that everybody who is there necessarily for the games, not for a jolly ride. So those who want to jump on the bandwagon of travel, forget it. They will not find space in my regime. We want to do things in the manner that will pursue it. As I said, the goal is to achieve excellence and win. Now, everybody in there must be capable of assisting the team to win. Not, yes, you can have cheerleaders and so on and so forth. And if there's a federation head or government representative or parliamentary oversight committee, all those people are totally necessary to be part of the entourage. But jolly riders, no. They won't find space in my leadership.
Fantastic. There's certainly a liaison between GOC, government, and other institutions. How are you going to manage that? GOC, Ministry of Youth and Sports, to ensure there's a proper ride to success?
Good. Again, it's back to planning. You see, if they said that doing business without advertising,
it's like winking in the dark.
Right?
You know what you are doing,
but nobody else
sees
does.
it.
If you do not go out there and explain and tell your story, there is no way that you will be understood. So you need to go and put your cards on the table right from the beginning and let them know. We know that the Commonwealth Games is coming on in the next maybe 16 or 15 months. We know this for sure. So why would we want to wait for 3 months before we start the conversation? We know that LA is coming in the next 3 years. Why should we wait until the last minute before we start the discussion? Government needs to put money aside for you. You know that.
Absolutely.
So you need to go and tell them the story. You need to go and sell the whole picture. And you need to tell them why. Because at the end of the day, government, like a corporate, wants to see results.
Of course.
They want to see the benefits of their participation.
Of course.
Why should I put money in your sport if you are not going to bring back anything? So you need to be able to say that, look, you know what? I am not spreading myself thin. I'm not going to go and chase after ice skating or synchronized swimming or whatever in an area that I know I have no chance.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to put my strength in where I have natural talent. My boxing, my football, my athletics,
probably tennis, table tennis,
and so on and so forth. Ethel Jacks, remember her? She used to be top of West Africa.
Absolutely.
How come it is that today our table tennis is nothing to write home about? It's very, very important that we go back to those winning ways. So you tell the story, you tell it correctly, and every discerning manager, when I say manager of government, will know and understand that, wow, we are talking business here. They are not talking about fly-by-night. We're not talking about jolly riders. We are talking about serious people. And at that time, I'm pretty sure. And I have to say that I have a very strong bargaining power. So, oh yes. So I will not take no for an answer. We will insist and we will sit until we get what we need to do in order to support our athletes.
That's a good one. Mr. Michael Agri is a gentleman in our studios. In fact, we've talked at length. You've missed a lot. If you just tune in, don't worry. There's still more to come. Mr. Michael Agri, when we talk about Ghana Olympic Committee, it's a combination of federations. I remember Mr. Benunu Mensah, the current GOC president, single-handedly building a gym for the weightlifting federation then. Technical aspect of the game, that is coaching. and probably offices, that's logistics. It's a problem for most of the federations. How are you going to help?
Okay, so you see, it's a case of justifying your requirements. Infrastructure is difficult. It's not the forte of the GOC per se. It is a government work.
Government work.
But you see, in the recent past, we've seen the preparations that were made for the African Games, for instance. So there are facilities. First of all, I urge that we make sure that these facilities are maintained properly, so that we don't go back to the dark ages where Sipon's seats are torn and Accra Sports Stadium and all of that. So we need to have a maintenance regime, which is very, very important. Those facilities are there for Ghanaians to use. And so we're going to make sure that we are able to access those facilities and use it to train the athletes that we unearth and use them to enhance their performances and so on and so forth. Now, the logistics that are required. Yes, if you don't understand that boxing shorts are not ordinary shorts, and that they have to be of a certain color and so on and so forth, then you don't know what you're doing. So you need to understand, first of all, what the logistics needs are. Once you do, then you'll be able to work towards it. If you go to swimming, swimmers need goggles, they need caps, they need a whole lot of, they need flaps and so on and so forth. All those things are requirements that you need to have knowledge of in order for you to understand that, because otherwise, if they come to you with their list and you don't understand, you probably throw it out the window thinking that somebody wants to chop money.
Absolutely.
But no, if you understand the sport, then you will understand their needs and therefore you'll be able to provide it accordingly. Luckily, the Olympic support that is given with the view that the NOC uses its discretion to distribute funds in the right direction. So it has to be a needs-based distribution. If the need comes and you have fencing coming in with a requirement of volleyball or beach soccer or whatever, all of it will be considered on its merits and funds distributed, as has been done. In the last couple of years, you've seen the kind of assistance that has been given to federations. Federations all across the country, all 43. No single federation can say that they have not received assistance. Every single one of them has received assistance in one shape or the other, whether it is through coach training or athlete scholarships or whatever. Every single one of them has had it. And I don't know if you were privy to the last Congress that we had, which was on Saturday, where our financial results were declared. You find that across board, everybody was enjoyed a piece of the cake. And in spite of all of that, a huge surplus has been left for the next administration to administer.
Over $500,000.
Yes, that has to be commended, and that has got to be a result of prudent financial management. And I'm proud to say that as chairman of the finance committee, I was an integral part of this management, and therefore, when elected as president, we will do even better.
Wow. It's getting very interesting. 18 minutes now into 12 o'clock. We are live on Facebook, Radio Gold Live. Radio Gold 905, Radio Gold 905. We are equally live on Radio Gold 90.5 FM. And tune in as well. We are talking Ghana Olympic Committee. In the studio with me is Mr. Michael Agri. He's a true golf person. He's a true finance and sales person. So I don't have issue at all when it comes to, raking in the sponsors for Ghana Olympic Committee with 43 sports disciplines under that umbrella. Now, let's go down a bit in terms of canvassing for votes. You need to convince people to vote for you.
Yes, absolutely.
How has that gone so far?
So far, so good. One of the things that I've decided, as I said, in my quest for bringing everybody together, I haven't, as it were, spoken only with people that I believe are friendly towards me or my goals. Everybody is on my radar. Every single person, including the gentleman that I'm standing against. I'm asking him to vote for me because he knows my capability and he knows that I'll be able to do the job. So I'm asking Richard to come out there and vote for me. Yes,
lawyer.
Yes, I'm asking him to come out and vote for me because he knows.
That's good.
He knows that we can do the job.
What's your relationship with Mr. Benunu Mensah?
I've worked with Ben for over 8 years,
Uh-huh.
and we've had a very, very cordial relationship. As I said, I've worked under him, so I know his ways, I know the way that he operates, and I know his passion and his knowledge. And you see, it is that legacy that we want to build on. A lot of people, he's largely misunderstood because his passion is too deep, and sometimes people think that facho, and so on. But that's not how I see it. I see it as somebody who wants accomplishment, and if it's not happening, he gets frustrated, and so on and so forth. So we want to continue that legacy, and I have his blessing, as far as I know, to go and fill those big shoes.
That's a good one. So mostly when people come from a certain sport, for athletics, for instance, and they become leaders, normally that particular sport sort of gets an advantage. Are we going to see golf rise to becoming an Olympic sport for Ghana?
Golf is already an Olympic sport.
I mean, for Ghana, but Ghanaians participating.
But Ghanaians' participation it's not going to be right now.
Whoa.
It's not going to be right now. I have to be honest about it. You see, first of all, golf in Olympics is a professional event. So our professionals need to develop much more than they have done now. They are good on the West African circuit. What we are doing at the African Golf Confederation is trying to get an African tour going, because that will then bring their ranking up. It is only when your ranking is high enough to get to the world stage that you can qualify to go and play in the Olympics.
Wow.
So it's a stage-by-stage process. The first thing that we need to do is to establish an African tour. Once we have an African tour, and the South Africans are currently the leaders in Africa, but once we have an African tour and Zimbabwe, Kenya, Ghana, Zambia, and the rest start to rise up, then, as I said, they can get into the world ranking. And then, so I would say not in the near future, not in the next Olympics certainly, but certainly in the next 2 Olympics or so, it is possible.
Yeah, it is possible.
Yes.
Mr. Mahagri, 43 sports disciplines under the umbrella of GOC.
Yes.
But if you look at the statistics, it's either boxing that has given us medals, a bit of athletics, to some extent judo, and swimming has also done well, even though we haven't won medals. How are we going to help to spread this, just not about boxing and athletics, for more medals at the Olympics?
Okay, so as I have explained earlier, we have natural talents, all right? So we're not going to spread ourselves thin. We need to strengthen those areas, okay? Because if boxing will give us the medals, then we should support boxing. If it is athletics, we should support athletics. If it's football, and so on and so forth. The rest is we are going to develop on a stage-by-stage basis. Earlier in the week, somebody gave me advice, and I thought that was a very important piece of advice. And that advice was that we should categorize the federations into, if you like, winnables and probables. So we have the A category, the B category, and the C category. The idea being that if you are A, then it means that you've got the possibility of going out to win medals.
Absolutely.
And then B will then, so now there will be a competition within the federations to move from B to A and from C to B and so on and so forth. Because it like I said, we cannot go and support synchronized swimming when we don't have 4 people that can swim together. So there's very little point in trying to develop that sport. But it will take time. So once we discover them from the grassroots, they'll probably be in category C, and then hopefully in the next 4 years they will be able to rise up. We will encourage them to move up to the next category. And then once you get to A is Olympic and Commonwealth standard. So then you are the sport that we will support. We will not leave anybody out,
of course,
but we will support. We will put concentration in those areas because that is what we want. We want wins. We want winnable federations.
Just like Kenya does with long distance athletics, they have no issue with swimming and gymnastics. No, it's about long distance athletics.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. There's a message that's coming from the United States of America. It says, "Good morning, my favorite sports presenter, Senior Elijah Ademu and Senior Millennium Thinker. Your guest sounds perfect for the job, but sounding perfect is different from the practical job. I wish him well. Eric, Millbury, Massachusetts." All right, thank you very much, Eric, for your message. We have about a few minutes to check out Mr. Michael Agri. I am opening the floodgate for you. Advertise yourself. Why should delegate choose you? Why should you be the GOC president? What will you bring to the table? We've spoken at length. Tell us, Mr. Mike.
Okay. First of all, I am not a Nino. I'm not new to the task. My experience and my accomplishments speak for themselves. So I don't believe that I need to go very far for people to understand that I'm capable of doing it. But having said that, I have 5 thematic areas that I want to develop on. I've spoken about unifying our front. I believe, and that's why I say that I have a lot of respect for my opponent, because I believe he also has a similar goal. So we all know that the unity is important to bring us together. Now, youth development and women empowerment is very, very
Solid.
important. It's very
Solid.
important because, you see, in the first place, if you don't catch them young, you're not going anywhere.
Forget it.
You're not going to replace the tired legs. So we need to catch them young. But in the process, you need our women to not only participate in the sports, but also become part of its administration. The current IOC president, the recently elected IOC president, is an African woman from Zimbabwe. Now, that should give us a cue as to where we want to go. We need more women to participate in our administration. It's a shame. On the GOC board, we have only one woman.
One woman.
I want us to move to, out of 19, I want us to move to at least 3 or 4 in this current, and I've seen that a few women have put their names up. I wish them well. I would want them to come on board, because that will help us in our quest to nurture the kids. You need women to look after children.
Very
Children
necessary.
have their ways, and women know how to nurture
Weave
them
their way
in
through
order
their ways.
to develop them.
Yeah.
So it's very important that we have that partnership with the ladies. So youth development and women empowerment, very, very important. Athlete welfare. You see, most of the time, we discover athletes, we hear of them, and the next thing you know, they've fallen by the wayside, and you don't know what happened.
Absolutely.
You, apart from losing athletes to other countries, the Gazers, and other people like that, I'm saying that the welfare of the athlete must be paramount to us. So you need to take the individual and take them all the way to the point where they are winning. And not just that, when they are done with their athletic life, there must be life after athletics.
Wow.
Because athletic life is fairly short-lived.
Very.
35 and you are done.
You are
if
done.
you're lucky, 38, 39. So after that, there must be life after that. So I am one for having an educated athlete.
Educated
An
athlete.
educated athlete. Somebody who has some, not necessarily tertiary, but some education, so that after athletics, they can go out there and work, either for themselves or even if it's with somebody, they must have a certain skill other than the ability to box or the ability to swim. Though that way, you will then not have the situation where, this man, we knew him, he was very popular and all of that, but now look at him, he's
Societal bedding.
poverty-stricken and all of that. We don't need that. So we need that welfare to be taken all the way through from the beginning to the end. So those are the things that we want to look at to make sure that we get our athletes in a good shape so that they can focus on the goal at hand. My final point is about having sustainable funding, because without funding, none of these things can happen. So we need to have sustainable funding. And as I said, it's a combination of government, corporate Ghana, and the Olympic movement. those three, harnessed correctly, will be able to give us the necessary funding that people, because the GOC, like government, has got so many asks. Everybody's asking for something, but you need to be able to distribute it in such a manner that everybody is happy and everybody walks away with a smile on their face. So my appeal to delegates is that come the 26th, go out there. I don't think that we have numbers or whatever, but there are two names. Both are begin with A, but I believe that G comes before K. So we will hope that they will vote Michael Agri on the day.
Mr. Michael Agri, Fantinya.
For Papa.
Fantinya, what's in grind?
Me and Krenny, you know.
Oh,
me a versatile.
Wicked combination. No, Joe. Oh. Fantastic. It's been nice talking to Mr. Michael Agri. Hopefully, after 26, we shall have a victory interview here in the studio of Radio Good. I am Adam Mufta. Mr. Michael Agri, thank you very much.
I shall return. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, support came from High Sense, Betica, as well as Palmist Natural Mineral Water. We also had Mega Cash supporting us. And like I said, you had Mr. Michael Agri, Ghana Olympic Committee Presidential Hopeful. 27th, 28th, 29th, thereabout. We shall have a victory interview. I am Adamu Muftao, and we are live on Facebook by Kankesi Alaska Prince Braco. And Stephen Mreku also made the show possible by way of production. Have a wonderful time and enjoy the rest of our programs.